Okay. Welcome to this podcast episode with the beautiful Jen Gordon. I met Jen in a course that we did together with Saida Desile. And Jen just caught my attention because I found her energy very potent, very powerful, very present, and her story also definitely caught my attention. And when Jen and I connected, I just suddenly had the idea and the wish to record a podcast episode with her about her journey with breast cancer. So we did so. And I really, really appreciate and love Jen's openness and the way she can talk about her journey. And to me, she's so funny also, the way she talks. Like, she has a lot of very intense facial expressions and she articulates herself very clearly often. And there's a very interesting energy about her that I really enjoy. And so this podcast episode went quite long because Jen has a lot of stories to tell. Even though we try to stay on topic, of course, we also went other topics. So there's, one of the very interesting things I found is that she was told she would never be able to have sensation in her nipples again, I think, or maybe even in her breast in general. But she does. And she actually had sensation very quickly again. And this story alone is very interesting. And then she just talks about her breast cancer journey in general. And I think it's really beautiful. I am really, really grateful that she shares so openly, because I imagine that it can help other women, because breast cancer is such a thing these days. Like, quite a lot of women experience it in their lifetime. So I think it's also one of those things that doesn't hurt to talk a bit more about. I hope this podcast is interesting to you. I hope it uplifts you, it inspires you, it motivates you, it gives you something. Unfortunately, my voice was a little bit low volume, but Jen did actually a lot of the talking and she's pretty well hearable. So I think that's cool. And yeah, if you have any feedback to the podcast, I'm curious to know how it impacts your life if you listen to it, how it has impacted you. Also, of course, to any other of the episodes, I'm always grateful to hear how it has had a positive impact on your life. And then I just also want to say here that there is a possibility to donate. There's a PayPal link below in the description of the podcast or of this YouTube video if you're watching this, because obviously I'm receiving this money gratefully for the podcast and for all the free content that I'm creating. So if you feel called to chip in any amount, I'll be grateful. And now I just wish you happy listening and see you on the other side. So welcome everyone. I'm here with Jen, with the beautiful, lovely Jen. We met in a course that we did with Saida Desile, right? And I noticed Jen's presence there, and I found her really outstanding. And I really just dug your vibe somehow, and we connected, and you started telling me some about your journey, and I'm really, really grateful that you're here and that you're so open to speak about your journey with breast cancer. So welcome.
Thank you.
Here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So how are you feeling right now?
Right now, I'm a little nervous because I've never done this before. So it's like outside of my comfort zone, but also
Nice.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, before we started recording, we were just talking about just how the world is a little bit different. Like, I feel like many things cause me anxiety now coming out of COVID, because during my cancer journey, it was also COVID. So I was isolating for so many extra reasons. And so few people came into my bubble that I feel like a little bit of extra social anxiety. So maybe this is good because we're doing it virtually. You're helping me ease back into the world, Katya. So thank
Yes,
you.
you're welcome. And essentially, it's right now just chatting, the two of us. Nobody
Exactly.
else is watching, and
That's
that's
right. Yes.
that's cool.
Yeah.
We had a
Yeah.
call like this before, and it was fun.
Yes, it was fun. Yes.
So where do we start?
Mm,
I found it really, really interesting, or yeah, how openly you spoke about the cancer journey while we were in our group, and
mhm,
um, I loved that because I guess, I just heard recently from another woman in a menstrual awareness group
mhm.
how common breast cancer is.
Oh, it
I've
is so common
Yeah.
now. Oh, I had no idea either until I
I
got it myself. I'm
Right.
startled by the numbers. Like it terrifies me a little bit, to be
Wow.
honest.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So do you know a number?
No, I'm terrible with numbers.
Yeah, but I think it was like 1 in 4 or 1 in 3 women or
Yes,
something.
it
That's
was
what
it was
I heard.
it took my breath away actually. And it
Wow.
actually I think when I was in the hospital, a nurse that was working with me on the overnight, um, she was sharing that I don't know if it was a dear friend, no, somebody she went to nursing school with,
Hmm.
was 25 and she was already having her first bout of breast cancer. And so,
Wow.
and there they don't even test at those times, right? So
Hmm.
it's just scary to think that, yeah, I don't know, it's just scary.
Yeah, that's wild. Because how old were you when you got the diagnosis?
So would have been last year, so 44.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And when they look back at the tests now, they like, so I guess I got a chest x-ray 2 years ago. And once they knew they were looking for cancer, they could look back and see that it was on my x-ray 2 years ago. So it's definitely been in my body more than
Wow.
2 years already. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
And you
yeah.
didn't feel anything, is that right?
Mm-mm. No, I felt nothing. That
So
is probably one of the creepiest things of the whole experience is, um, I probably had never felt healthier in my entire life than when I
Mhm.
got my breast cancer diagnosis.
What?
Yes, like, because so like having to stay with the cancer journey, but I had an infertility journey, and I had type 2 diabetes, and I have polycystic ovarian syndrome,
Mhm.
and lots of different things that made it very difficult to lose weight. And then I
Mhm.
started to have physical things in my skeletal system, and it made it even harder to move. And I started getting heavier and heavier. So um,
You also had
I,
quite the weight loss journey behind you,
yeah,
right?
exactly. So like in
Mm.
2018, I weighed 350 pounds and I had a
Wow.
very bad limp. And even walking up one flight of stairs was very difficult for me.
Mm.
I had so many health problems that were undiagnosed or diagnosed but not being treated properly.
Mm.
So yeah, it's amazing that after that weight loss journey, actually I'm so grateful for it. I wouldn't have been able to get the surgery that I got if I hadn't have lost all
Mhm.
that weight, because my
Wow.
body wasn't healing properly with my diabetes. And um, the the breast reconstruction, which I'll explain at some point, I'll just explain it now. I guess I just dropped it, I better explain it. So what I chose when I got my breast cancer diagnosis was to have a double mastectomy, and then I had a choice of staying flat, or I had the choice of um, silicone breast implants, or
Whoa.
I could have them. They look at your body and they see if you have excess fat, which I did. I was being very lovable of my fat now, because
Wow, yeah.
having that extra belly fat is what created my new breasts, and so
Wow.
is amazing. Like I joke that, like, I would joke to the guys at work. I work with the police, so they're kind of like a little bit like, oh God, it's breast cancer. Their boobs. We can't talk about her boobs, right? They just didn't know how to say anything. They're very concerned for my health, but very clunky and not knowing how to handle it, right? Like if it was finger cancer, I'm sure they would have been able to talk about it, but boob cancer, no, it's like they blush and like, right? And they're like, we don't know
Oh
what to say.
goodness.
And
Oh.
so I would just make jokes about it and say that, like, I don't know if you have the same toys in Germany, but we have this toy called Mr. Potato Head, and you could take his nose off and his mouth off and his eyes and change it around.
Uh-huh. I believe I heard about him, yeah.
Yeah. So I said, I'm like Mrs. Potato Head. They just took my stomach and changed the parts around, sewed me back together, and I'm fine. It is really
Wow.
amazing, actually, when you think about it. Like,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
yeah. And it really made me look at, I'm somebody who's really into alternative medicine normally, or
Mhm.
at least I walk the line between both. But when I went with the option of surgery, it really made me appreciate medicine, like that type of medicine, in a whole new way, because I
Mm.
realized that he is an artist, right? It was like,
Yes.
right? Like he took the clay that was my body and rebuilt it so
Wow.
that I wouldn't be traumatized from my cancer experience. Like,
Mhm.
wow,
Yeah, that's
it's amazing,
huge.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, it's so interesting. I really noticed how there's like two ways at looking at it, and there's like this,
yeah.
oh my God, it's awful that you have
Right.
your
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
belly fat in your breast. But I
Right.
noticed
Yeah.
in myself
Yeah. Yeah.
I have much more like awe and wonder
Right.
for it because it is
Yes.
so amazing
Yes.
that we can do
Right.
this, you know, with the
Right.
body. Like it's so huge.
I know. Yeah, it really, it changed. Yeah. Well, this journey has changed a lot about me. One
Yeah.
thing, I'll tell you the story.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm very grateful to COVID for this. So I'm a terrible procrastinator, Katya. And because of my infertility journey, because I'd been poked and prod and taken so many drugs, and it was all very sad, right? Because I wasn't able to conceive in the end.
Mhm.
There's a little bit of heaviness that goes along with going to the doctor now, and a mammogram. And I was like, ugh, I don't want to do it. And so I had that paperwork sitting on the bulletin board at my desk for 2 years because
Wow.
the doctor, because I work in the police, there's a doctor on sort of the headquarters station where I work. And so I remember going there as soon as I started, and she's like, oh, you're in your 40s. You should get a mammogram. And I put it on my filing cabinet, and I never did it. And so I was packing up my stuff to go home, to work from home because COVID. And I was kind of thinking, like, it was in the time where we didn't know how long it was going to go on for. So it was like, I don't know when I'm coming back. I guess I should pack everything. And I saw that paperwork and I was like, ugh, if I pack it, I'm never going to pull it out. I knew that about myself because
Wow.
I'm messy. And so I was like, just book the appointment now, Jen. It's probably not going to be for a year because I assumed COVID would have everything all backed up. And I got in within 4 days, and I was like, that's weird, right? Kind of like, what a coincidence. And then within 4 days, they called me back to say that they needed another one. And I was like,
Wow.
well, that's even weirder, right? And then 4 days again, I was in for another one and a biopsy. And then I was like, oh, like,
Wow.
shit.
Yep.
Like, this is why the doctor sent me for the fucking test. Holy shit, is this happening, right? Is it okay to swear on your thing? I
Yeah,
should
yeah,
ask
it's
that
okay.
first.
I swear a lot.
Okay.
Claim that shit. So how did you
So,
feel initially when you heard about it, when you learned that you actually had it? What's the
when,
feeling?
oh, well, it's kind of, I don't know if I told you this when we were talking, I can't remember, but I had something else going on in my health at the same time. I started to have sex migraines.
Ah, yes, you
And
told me.
yeah, and so I walked over because, like I said, my doctor was in my office. So just, it was kind of, I work on sort of like a university campus, but it's all police. And so I walked over to the other building. I went to the doctor just on my lunch break. I didn't have an appointment. It was quite casual. I was mostly that confident, right? I was like, I don't need to book an appointment. Like, I'm young, I'm healthy. I've never been healthier, kind of, right? There was this tiny little part that was like, what if?
Hmm.
And and then so she came in with the results and she was like, no, you're fine. But it was the results for my brain scan for the
Wow.
sex migraines. And so for like a split moment, I felt this like relief. And it was like, yeah, I was right. Like, whew, thank God I didn't give it that much thought. Right. And then, but I did give it thought. And then she started talking more in like doctor language, and I heard something cranial, and I was like, oh, what test was that again? That wasn't my brain test. I'm like, I just got that yesterday. And she's like, oh no, I got the results right here. And I said, oh, doctor, I'm here for the biopsy results. And she was like, oh, Jen, I'm so sorry. I forgot. You have 2 tests. I'll go back. So she goes back. And when she comes back in, her face is completely different.
Oh.
And she's like, I'm so sorry, Jen. And I was like, what the fuck?
Wow.
Right. And so just to add another kicker to the story. So on that Tuesday, that was a Thursday, on that Tuesday, I signed my separation papers. And I was so excited that I was single and I was financially free from my marriage. And I was ready to party, Katya. Like, COVID restrictions were just lifting. And I was so excited to be a single woman and to be the world to be opening again.
Mm-hmm.
And so I signed the papers on a Tuesday. That Thursday, I have breast cancer. And then fucking COVID lockdown 2.0 1 week later. And I was like, whoa.
Yo.
And I think I think, because I do hear from people that they do appreciate that I shared my cancer journey with people and some of the hard stuff and things. And I think the tendency is to not share. I think if I'd still been married and if lockdown hadn't have been happening, I might have told a few people, right? And kept the circle close. And for whatever reason, right? This need for privacy. I don't know what it would have been, but I feel like that's the norm, right?
Yeah.
But I knew right away, I was like, I suffer from depression. I was suffering or struggling with COVID lockdown already. And so, oh my God, it was just like, it was like a cage came down over me and I was terrified. And then I had a partner, I'd had a new partner that I was dating already for 8 months because my husband and I had been physically separated already quite like maybe 9 or 10 months. And I had luckily found a really nice pandemic partner for the first lockdown and we kind of really liked each other. And so we were still hanging out, but it was too much for cancer. And same with the other girl that I was dating, one man and one woman. And it was just too new, right? It was like, we were all divorced people, right? We're all a little bit traumatized, still coming out of our own marriages. And some people really poo-pooed it, that I didn't like the way they just disappeared, especially the fellow, because we'd been together for quite a while, like 8 months, it felt like a lot, but everybody's got to do their own thing, right? And I'm glad they left my life if they weren't going to be able to show up. So it was painful, but I'm glad that they were authentically themselves. Yeah, and to be honest, I don't know if I would want to go on a cancer journey with somebody just because I'd been with them for 8 months.
Yep.
Right? So, yeah.
Wow.
However,
sounds like everything just went upside down within a short time.
And so it's interesting. So we study with the same lady, Layla Martin. And so I had just been following her free content shortly after my infertility journey. I realized I had so much anger towards my female parts and so much sadness and so much I felt betrayed by my body, I guess, right? I was just like, what the fuck? This is the one thing I'm supposed to be able to do, right? The one given. It's like,
wow. Yeah, that's a huge thing to say to oneself. Yeah.
Right. And even it's interesting, Katya, and I know you said to stick to the topic, but I lived in Afghanistan for 5 years, right? And I remember hearing a story of a woman getting stoned. Then, while I was there, a man stoned his woman because she was barren. And so once in a while, it will hit me and it'll be like, in some countries, I could have died because I couldn't bear children. And it freaks me the fuck out. It really does. It freaks me out that I lived.
That's so sad.
Right? Yeah. It's just, yeah. So there's just a lot of trauma there, lots of trauma in the old body.
Which is
And so
interesting. Yeah, you can keep talking what you said, but
yeah, so
or do you?
that's what I started following Layla's work in the
Mhm.
Tantra, and I started to do the self-pleasure practices because I knew that I wanted to get back in touch with my body. I knew that I had lost something, right?
Mm.
By feeling shut down. I knew something wasn't quite right. I just didn't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
so I was following just her free content and but having amazing results.
Hmm.
And so when I got my breast cancer diagnosis, I I wavered and I wallowed and I was very uncomfortable until I came up with a treatment plan. Once I decided on my treatment plan, then I was able to kind of put things into a plan. And so when I decided that I was going to lose my breasts, um, because I had learned how to orgasm with my nipples by following Layla's free content, I was so
So
sad.
cool. Yeah.
Right? I was just like, so yeah, I just want to tell you that, Katya. Like, I'm sure you're going to put this out and it's free content. Like, somebody's free content changed my motherfucking life.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing stuff like this,
Thank
right?
you.
Because you
Yeah,
just never
it's
know who's going to
huge.
listen to it. You never know that one
Wow.
person, you know. So
So
I started
true.
doing
Thank
breast
you.
massage every day, morning and evening. And I did another. So I signed up for this live meditation with this man who talks about putting us into time and space. And he often talks about surgery being like almost a controlled near death experience and that it
Hmm.
can be really good for spiritual growth. And so I
Wow.
just used that. I was like, okay, I just reframed it all. And I was like, okay,
Wow.
I am going to get a tummy tuck and a boob job and a surgery um, where I can have an opportunity for spiritual growth if I use it, right? And I
Wow.
really, and then
That's
when I went to
such
the
empowering way
hospital,
to look at it.
I treated it like I was going to the spa, right?
Wow.
So
You
right.
are incredible. That's so epic.
And I just was like, yeah, it was amazing.
Mm.
And I don't know if it's my attitude that opened it all to be so. And I'm not saying it was easy. It was still the
Yeah.
motherfucking hardest thing I've ever done, right? But what I often hear, and I don't know, is it magic? I don't know. Is it law of attraction? I don't know.
Mm.
But I do think that by looking for the good, you find the good. And when you look for the bad, you find the bad. And so
Mm.
I was just working hardcore with my life coach, looking for the good, looking for the good, looking for the good, looking for the good.
Wow.
And I focused on the good. But it was hard.
Wow.
It was like spiritual burpees. Do you do those
Oh
horrible
yeah.
exercises in
Yes, yes,
Germany? Like,
burpees,
you're
yes.
like, I
Yes.
call that like spiritual burpees, where it's just like fuck you, spiritual growth. Like, I don't
It's
care. I don't
hard as
want to
fuck.
grow anymore. Don't want to grow.
Wow. That's so
Right?
interesting that you say what you're saying there about growth, because like what I believe I kind of heard from you is that cancer also just kind of
Mm-hmm.
showed you where you need to I'm just going to call it step
Mm-hmm.
up in your life,
Yes,
or and on your self-care
totally.
and all this stuff,
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
because it is psychosomatic, like everything is really, because it's energetic.
Totally. Yep.
And
Totally.
I would like to know from you, like,
Mhm, mhm.
do you have a rough idea or very clear idea why you actually got it, and what did you learn from it then? Like, how did your life
Mm.
change?
So the way that I don't, I think I overgive. So I think
Mm.
if you look at some of the metaphysical reasoning behind breast cancer, it's overgiving and not taking care
Over
of the self.
nurturing,
Yeah,
yeah.
over nurturing.
Wow.
And so um, I used to be a supervisor at my job. I used to be a teacher. I've just overcared for many people,
Hmm.
or or that's been too much of my identity.
Mhm.
I don't know. Yeah. So that's part of it. Leaving myself for last and not respecting the body, right? Um,
Hmm. That's so
not respecting the
interesting.
body at all. So when I found out, yeah, so going back to my diagnosis day, so I got that news and then I walked back to my office and I just started crying and I was just
Mm.
surrounded by officers, right? And I just remember, I don't know if I intuitively knew that I was going to lose them at that point. I don't know. But I just grabbed my chest and I went, oh my God, I didn't get time to get to know you. Right. Because I was
Mm.
too concerned about how imperfect they were.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And I knew at that moment, I was like, fuck, I have missed out
Hmm.
on getting to know and living in my breasts, right?
That's
Because I
so
rejected them. I've rejected my body my whole life because I believed other people's opinion more than my own opinion. So, what cancer has taught me, boiling it down, is to honor my own opinion of myself.
Hmm.
And I feel like my work has been to foster a new opinion of myself that's more accurate to
I love
represent the
that.
fucking goddess that I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to walk
Mm-hmm.
through the world like that. And
Mm.
it taught me that I'd been living life all wrong, kind of, right? Like
Wow.
I'd been living by the rules, kind of, right? It's
Mm.
like I wasn't living for the sake of being alive in my body and experiencing this moment. Like right now I can sit in this house and be like, oh, I love my house. I love the art on the wall. I love the rock behind me. It grounds me. I can
Yeah.
see the tree behind me in the light and I can see my lipstick and I'm like, I'm fucking hot.
Nice.
Right.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
like, and
Love
that would have
this.
never happened
Wow.
before Layla's, before that work and before cancer. And I don't know if I would have come to the same conclusion if I had not been doing Layla's work.
Mm-hmm. It's
Because I think
interesting that it came kind of so close.
yeah, like it cultivated the self-love, I think, that
Yep.
made me realize what I was missing or what I was losing. And then it's made me just want to live so much deeper in my body.
Wow. So it really kind of called you home really
Hmm.
deeply.
Totally. I'm going, this is my one life. Like, even if there's reincarnation, right? Whatever anybody's
Yeah.
belief is, this is the only time that it's going to be Jen Gordon.
Yes.
This is the only time, right? Like
So
the part
true.
of me that's eternal, yeah, it's going to live, right? But what was Jen Gordon meant to do?
Yes.
And I don't know, like, I feel like I've been conditioned, and maybe it's because of the just life, right? Inherited trauma, generational
Mm.
trauma, like of just, but what I've been conditioned and learned is to just stay safe, just stay safe, just stay safe, 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 safe,
Yep. Yep.
right?
What kind of safety
But
and
it's
for
a
what?
different kind of safe. It's like you're safe
Yep.
by playing by the rules. But actually, I don't think that's true. What I've
Yes.
learned from safety is actually like living in my pussy and living in my heart and living in my body is what makes me feel safe.
Wow.
Playing by the rules has never made me feel safe because that means somebody else can change the rules at any time. So I can fail.
Yes.
I can't
Mm.
fail at my body. I can't fail living in my body.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Woo! Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I really look at it as like, thank you, thank you, thank you, cancer. Thank you, COVID, for sending me there, right? Thank you, cancer, for coming and living with me for a while.
Mhm. Mhm.
My life coach, I love her so much. Her name is Glenda. And she's the one that kind of taught me how to look for the positive in everything instead of the negative and to kind of retrain that part of the brain.
Mhm.
So grateful for that. And
Mhm.
she also taught me to change the vibration in the body and to dance things out.
Yes.
So you've seen me dance in that course that we take. And so literally during COVID and cancer, I would get up, I'd get sad and overwhelmed and scared, not know what to do. My mind would go, brrr, you know, I'd cry. And then, but I would let myself cry. I would just be like, okay, we're crying. Let's just do it. And then I would sort of be like, are we done? And then wait, right? And just kind of be like, yeah. And then I would get dressed, like full makeup, like as if I was going out on the town, right? I bought a disco light.
Yes, baby.
I bought a disco light and I would dress up, full red lipstick, and then I would dance. And every day I would take a little clip to show my life coach that I danced that day.
Cool. Wow.
Right.
Yeah,
and I incorporated
so
breast massage. Yeah. I made my body a promise. I was like, I did not dance these beautiful boobies enough. Right. And so I dance every day now too, because like, it's fun to wiggle your boobs. Yeah. Like it's so fucking fun.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
I don't have so big ones, but I just wiggle them with my hands. And
exactly.
I love it.
It feels nice.
Yes. I grab my boobs all the time, actually.
Right.
It feels so good. Yeah.
I know. I had this is something interesting, and I would love, I don't know, like if the same kind of cultural whatever would be in Germany, I would be interested to hear. So it was, so after lockdown, I think the stores finally opened. And so I was going to the grocery store and I was very excited to go out. So I was all dressed up to go to the grocery store with my roommate one day, right? And it was warm, and like winter here can be so oppressive where I'm from. So it was just like, it was all of it. It was like, and it, you know, that feeling of like spring energy and sun coming. And it was just, I was so happy. And so I wore this beautiful little silky blouse. And then we're going out and I'm with the shopping cart and I'm just about to go in and I look at my roommate and I was like, oh, and he's like, what? And in my mind, you know how your mind goes 10 miles an hour. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't wear a bra. My nipples are going to get erect in Costco because Costco's really cold, right? And then I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then I had this really dark thought and I was like, okay, this is a sign of healing, because then I burst out laughing and then I was like, oh yeah, I don't have any nipples anymore, right? And then I laughed. But then I was so sad after Katya. So I looked at it in the moment and I was like, that's a sign of healing. Like I can be walking and forget that I don't have nipples, right? That's a sign that my body's feeling better. Yay.
Yes. So good.
But then, and what my life coach taught me was like that thought of, oh my God, what if my nipples get hard in the thing and I might offend somebody? That's my default programming, right?
Yep.
And so, and it made me sad that that's my default programming. I was like, why is a nipple offensive if it's erect in Costco?
Yeah, it's so true.
Right?
It sucks. Yeah.
Right? And I'm just like, what the hell? So it's it's kind of, it's given me some things to think about. And also like, it's interesting too, like, cause we're both on that group. And so I've shared some pictures on the group of some semi nudes and some nudes, and the ones without the nipples haven't got flagged on Facebook for nudity.
Really?
And yes, I have been nude.
Oh my God.
And then on the Layla Martin one, I shared, I know somebody was talking about just like taking pictures of themselves and I was just encouraging somebody and just saying like, when I started photographing my breasts to say goodbye to them, like I fell in love with a lot of my body, right? Like just learning to see myself in the camera and to not go like this, right? At looking at myself for once. And so I shared a picture of me with just one breast coming out, and I got kicked off Facebook for 2 days because one nipple was showing. And then I was like, isn't that funny? It kind of made me think in a way. I was like, fuck, is breast cancer some kind of like genital mutilation in a way? Like, am I actually more acceptable to the world now that I don't have nipples? It's just making my mind go into crazy places, having that default programming say that, and then Facebook, like, it's just weird.
Yeah,
It's just
Facebook
something
is a
that's,
really strange place, and I'm
oh,
starting to feel really, really weird about it
I know,
increasingly, because like
right?
I literally saw a woman, well, it was on Instagram once, and she also made kind of a joke, and she posted
Yeah.
herself topless,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
with Photoshop
Yeah.
she photoshopped the nipples of her partner onto hers. So she was like,
Ah,
I'm showing male nipples, am I allowed to be like this on Instagram now?
right.
And it was, I don't like, well, it's a while ago, and I don't know if
Right.
this picture stayed
Right.
on, but it was such a
Mm-hmm.
good point, because what is the
Right.
fucking difference between a female nipple and a male nipple? It's, and of
Really?
course there will be
Yes.
people who say, yeah,
Yes.
well, it's a woman and it's breast and it's more erotic and sexual, and
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
okay, it is, but still,
Mm-hmm.
what is the problem? It's natural. It's like
It's
pretty much
natural,
every human on the
right?
planet has sucked on a nipple at some point in their lives, and it's because they did it, and they are alive because of it. So
Right. I know. I know. I
so
even,
natural, it's not only sexual, it's also just natural, it's nature, it's
it's
pure, it's what we are and
nature,
where we
right? Yes.
and
I
it's
know. Yeah.
so necessary that we start to chill out about it. And of course we can say, wow, this woman showing her, or like showing her nipples
Mm-hmm.
through her
Mm-hmm.
blouse at
Mm-hmm.
the supermarket. That's, we can look at it and we can say it's beautiful,
Right.
but
Right.
we shouldn't be like worried that a woman can get
Mm-mm.
raped, or that the man
Mm-mm.
can't control himself anymore. Like, we need to teach both men and
Right.
women how to handle such things. Like, men also need to learn that they can have
Yes.
sexual fun with themselves, by themselves, in a
Mm-hmm.
very
Mm-hmm.
powerful way too.
It's
So
true. It's true.
it's so big what you're saying. And like, have you posted, so you have posted yourself without, like, with your
Mm-hmm.
new breasts on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, and you've not gotten censored, is that right?
Mm-hmm. No,
That's just nuts.
I know, right?
Absolutely insane.
It kind of fucks with
Wow.
your head a little bit. Yeah.
Yes.
The message that it gives, right? It's like, what? Why?
Mm. Wow. But on that point, I actually would like to embark on this nipple journey,
Yes,
because we talked
yes,
about it
yes.
before,
Yes, yes.
and it was because you were saying how the doctor told you that it's going to be very hard to get sensation back in there, or maybe not even
Yes.
at all, I'm not
At
sure.
all, yes. Some women don't
And
get sensation back at all.
yeah, but they don't know
And
breast massage probably.
they don't know breast massage. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to do this, right? It was like,
Yeah.
and I don't even know if I actually believed that I would be successful at gaining
Hmm.
sensation back. I actually don't know if that was even my goal.
Hmm.
My goal in the breast massage was to remember the pleasure that my
Mm.
breasts gave, like my God given breasts, right? The skin, the nipples, all of it. I just wanted to savor it. And so I wanted to do it every day, because I didn't know what was going to happen after, if I was still going to be
Mhm.
able to have that. I assumed not.
Mhm.
And so after my surgery, and it's interesting because it was my own tissue, right? Like, this is my stomach now. It's so funny, or not my
So
stomach, but
cool.
my abdomen, right? My abdomen fat. It just cracks me up. And so
Yeah.
it's like I just think about my body, and I'm like, my body knew that it was mine, right? It's like, I know this stuff, but it's in the
Mm-hmm.
wrong spot, right? And that's what the doctors would say, is your nerves are confused,
Mm-hmm.
right? We've messed everything up. We've done things. And so for the first, I would say 3 weeks, 2 weeks, I was so afraid. Like, I felt like if somebody touched me or bumped me, like if you watched Bugs Bunny, like the old cartoons, when something would touch and then it would crack and then just go all in one,
Okay. Yep.
right? That's what I felt. I felt like they were fragile,
Mm-hmm.
that if you touched me, that they were just going to break, and like glass,
Oh.
and then fall off, like almost that they didn't belong, that
Mm.
they weren't mine. Like, there's so many different things. And from what I understand is that's often, some people don't ever feel like they're theirs after, right? And it
Mm.
makes me so sad.
Wow.
And so, um, so I was really afraid to touch them because it was
Mm.
so painful after, and I was
Mm.
afraid to look at them even.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it was really scary.
Wow.
But shoot, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going? Oh, the breast massage. Yeah. So yeah, my intention was to just savor the pleasure, to savor the sensations.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, so I could have kept my nipples. That was an option. But they would have, because I had lost so much weight. By that time I had lost, I think, 160 pounds.
Wow.
So my skin was already sagging quite a lot. And so he said, because your breasts have drooped, the nipples would have hung down strangely, like not in a natural way. Because basically they scoop out your breasts and then refill them. I know,
Oh,
I'm
it's
sorry. I
so crazy.
know. My poor
Yeah.
baby breasts. Oh my God.
But
They've
it's
been through
also so,
so much, but also
yeah.
amazing that they figured that shit out. So
Yeah, and it's so fat. Like I don't see them. I just see them through the top you're wearing now. But they just
yeah.
they look normal, like
They
normal
look so
breasts.
natural. They feel so natural.
That's
Like,
so
yeah, I
beautiful.
love them. I love them.
Oh God.
This is a little bit dirty, but I was riding my partner the other day and I was like looking at them jiggle and I was like, his eyes were closed and I was like, look at how beautiful they are bouncing up and down on you. Like, take a moment to look at these beauties.
I love this so much. Oh my God. Liberation. Oh.
Right. So
Oh, you are such an
um
idol. I think that's the right
yeah.
word. It's
One of the things
wow.
that was so sad. So this was really a huge turning point for me. Okay, so I had a huge, like, angry stage with my diagnosis because with the
Mm-hmm.
COVID lockdown, and I was really angry because I was like, my breast should be getting worshipped right now, and I didn't feel like I could go out and date safely, and I was just angry at my partners for leaving me sexually, right? It's like I could appreciate them leaving emotionally and stuff, but I was just like, how could you just leave me alone sexually at this time, right?
Wow.
And
Mm-hmm.
and so, but that's when it, like, Layla talks about becoming your own epic lover, and
Yes.
I hadn't really, thought about it in that way. And then I also realized, so my partner who I found online, the most amazing man, he's still with me, became my pandemic partner.
Cool.
He came into my life, a tantric partner, and he was like, what do you want? What do you need? Like, you're going through this crazy thing. And I was like, I actually just want you to worship my breasts. Like, I just want
Nice.
all the attention to be on my breasts. It's like their last meal, like, just take care of them from now until the last day. And it was amazing. And yeah, I probably wouldn't have got that from the partners that I had before my diagnosis. So everything works out, right? But in that moment between, so when I lost the partners before I found this wonderful man, I had this anger and I was like, damn it. And then, but I would dance every day, and I would dance to this guy called the Fitness Marshal, and he's really cute and he's hilarious. And he dances like this, and he's like, come on, touch your own body. It's your body. And then I was
Cool.
like, oh, that's what Layla's talking about,
Yeah.
right? It's my body. Oh yeah. But so I had never had a tantric lover before. So I'd never had like a beautiful pussy massage. I was sort of gave tantra as a partner, but I'd never received it back. And so what I actually realized was that I was a lazy lover with myself too.
Wow.
Because a tantric lover actually opened my mind into what I was ignoring and not even paying attention to.
Wow.
And I was like, holy crap. That's how I be my own epic lover, right?
So epic and beautiful. Yeah. Cool.
Right. And so he taught me so much. And then the fitness guy, like, saying, you can touch your own body. And so that's when I started the dancing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to dance and touch my breasts every day. The old ones, it's like, as soon as I, like, literally, like, I think it was like a first week or two after surgery, I tried to do a bounce and I was like, oh no, I
Oh,
can't dance yet. And I'm like, I want to dance in here, but I'm not ready here.
yes.
It took a while,
Wow.
but so yeah, so I could have kept my nipples, but they would have hung in a strange spot, and they guarantee less than 50% chance of having sensation back in them. So then
Mm.
I was like, I decided to just, oh yeah. And then because the nipples are still breast tissue, then I would have been at higher risk for reoccurrence of breast cancer. And I would have had to get tested every 6 months for 5 years.
Whoa.
And there would have been a different treatment plan. So it was a little bit, yeah, I sacrificed them. I really do feel like I sacrificed both my breasts to survive cancer and my own mental health. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
I didn't think I could handle wondering if cancer was going to come back every 6 months because I can be quite an anxious person.
Yeah, I imagine that it to be a lot of pressure, actually.
Yeah. So, and just feeling that I could do it wrong, right? Like, what if I, like I think I just, yeah. So it was a hard
Wow,
decision, but I made
what
it.
a
Yeah.
strong, like what a huge decision to make.
Right. And even like, because we were in the height of the pandemic and the numbers in my city were quite bad as far as the whole country goes. It was like we were a bit of the shame of our country as far as pandemic numbers goes. And so, if I didn't take all the breasts, there would have been another treatment option too, which would have meant radiation, which would have meant I would have been going into the hospital every day for months and months and months. And I was just like, I don't know if I want to risk another person having to take me to the hospital, because I was single now. I was separated. I didn't have a partner to do that with. So many things contributed to me making the decision. My mental health, being a single person, all of it.
There's a couple of things I want to, wow, it's, I cannot really imagine what this all must be like. I respect you so much for going through this, and coming out as such a deep and like very joyful person. I love it, and I have seen you also cry and just feel deeply, and that's so beautiful. I've gotten to know you as a very deep person that can be really happy and also just feels in all directions very deeply. That's so gorgeous. Thank you for that.
It's hard to show the sadness part.
Yes,
it's hard to trust that that's okay to have that too. Yeah, that's one thing cancer has taught me too. I have a wonderful doctor, and she said that there's 4 dominant emotions. I have terrible memory, but she said there's joy, and then there's fear, and then anger, and then sadness. Yeah. And she said, but we have this expectation that that life is going to look joyful and be joyful. And she goes, but look at the ratio. Look at the ratio of the 4 dominant feelings, right? And she's like, actually, life is probably more likely going to show that, and then really just enjoy that when that comes.
Yes.
But I think I've spent so much of my life judging that, like saying, oh, if I'm not feeling joy, then I'm failing. Right. And I think so.
Such a
what I really
we carry.
Yes. And and shame. And I think, the tantra work has helped me with so much unlocking of shame.
Oh, yes.
But to me, it's like, I realized it the other day, and I was like, me saying that it's not okay to be sad and mad and messy after this journey, this crazy year I've had, would be like saying daytime, you're not allowed to have a night tonight.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the two go together, day and night.
It's so unhealthy.
Light and dark, right? But we don't want to show the real part of life for some reason.
But the thing what I learned with emotion, the more I can allow to flow to let flow anger and sadness,
Right.
the more I open
Yes.
up energetically and the more joy I can feel
So
as well. And actually, there can be like I've
true.
cried and then I've cried
Hmm.
even more because it was so beautiful to cry.
Right.
And
Do
I've
you know?
had anger outbursts and then I
Yes.
cried because it felt so beautiful, and then I laughed
Wow.
and then I danced. You know, I don't know. It can be all
Right.
so interwoven, and I think
Right.
children show us that
Yes.
really beautifully.
Yes,
Yeah, they're
totally.
masters in that.
They are like they move on quickly, right?
Yes,
They feel the emotion.
they let it flow. Yeah.
And yeah, we kind of teach it out of them by saying, oh no, you
Yep.
can't show that emotion when
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
there
yeah.
because
Keep
that's
yourself
wrong.
together. Yeah.
Oh, it
Yeah,
hurts
really.
just thinking about
Yeah.
that messaging. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think that's
like,
why I'm a little bit afraid to go back in the world. I think.
possible, yeah. Yeah, I do a lot of like when I'm at home, I also scream sometimes when I feel like it, and when it's really on fire, I punch pillows
Mhm.
and stuff, and
Yeah,
or I
yeah,
stomp my feet because it's so releasing, you
yeah,
know, and it doesn't
yeah.
last forever. You just do it for a
Oh,
couple of
yeah,
minutes or whatever, and then
exactly.
it's through and it's gone, and you feel
Exactly. It's
better.
gone. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
But I did want to come back to your nipples quickly because
Yes,
so
yes,
you
yes.
were talking a lot about the story, but so you do
Yes.
also have the sensation back. You have
Oh,
like
yes,
you
yes.
have
Okay.
full sensation back. How is it at the
Yes.
moment?
Okay. So when they took the nipples off at first, they put skin grafts on. And I think I told you a funny story about my skin grafts. So
Yes.
so there was a circle here and a circle here, and then there's scars going down here. And then they took, so it was very much like an organ transplant. And so they took my fat and then put it in here. And then that skin was how they tested to make sure the blood flow was going. So they would come with one of those Doppler machines, like how you listen to a baby, and
Oh,
they would listen for the blood flow every hour.
oh,
They would come and
okay.
listen to each boob. And
Wow.
it was very
So
interesting, right? Just
fascinating.
so
Yeah.
interesting. And then and so that skin came from my lower abdomen. And so 4 weeks later, 4 or 5 weeks, I was going for a checkup and with my surgeon. And I got out of the shower and I need glasses and I haven't been wearing them because I haven't been working. And so I'm looking and I'm like, why do I have cat hair? I've got lots of cats. So it's like, I'm coming out of the shower and I feel like I have cat hair on my skin grafts. And I'm like, that can't be cat hair. I just washed myself. Right. And then I was like, just trying to go through and trying to problem solve, like, why is there hair on this skin? I don't get it. And then I went and got my glasses like a super old lady and was like, and I was like, like the realization that I was now growing pubic fucking hair on my nipple patches. Okay, it looked like, I don't know if they do it in Germany, but old men here, they like to pretend sometimes that they're not going bald and they grow
Oh,
their
yes,
hair
yes,
really
yes.
long. And then they put it over, right? The comb over. That's what I called them. The comb overs. And it was going sideways this way and sideways this way.
So, like, I feel a bit bad for laughing, but
No.
you
And
tell it so funnily.
it was really, and I think if I hadn't known that I was cancer free by then, right? Because by then I knew that
Mhm.
the surgery was good. There was no further treatments. Pathology was back. We got it all. I was happy, right? So in
Mhm.
that moment, I was just kind of like, oh, cancer. Good one. That's one more point from you from the grave, but game over. That's it. We're done here. Right? I was just like, no more surprises. No more fucking surprises. But so the procedure, so that week I went in, or that day I went in, and then the next week I went in to get those skin grafts removed, and then they sewed it up straight. And so because those were meant to be temporary. So thank God. I think if I would have had to wax those for the rest of
So
my
the
life,
hair
that
is
would have
gone
stood.
now.
It's gone. Yeah.
Okay.
So they took that
Okay.
whole skin patch away
Yep.
and they've sewn it up. So in that procedure, that's where I learned that my tantric breast massage and the meditation was working, because he was just like kind of going, okay, we're just going to get you ready, and touching me like this and saying, you don't feel any of this. And I was like, yeah, I do. But I'm always stunned when I'm around doctors, right? I just assume they know more about my body than I do, right? Interesting.
Yeah.
So
Don't assume.
yeah. So then I was like, well, no, go ahead. And so he's like, I'm going to give you a little bit of freezing. He goes, normally people don't need any freezing because there's almost no feeling left at this point. And I was like, okay. And then he started, and I was like, oh, and I was kicking almost like when you're swimming, my feet were kicking. And he was like, okay, calm down, calm down. I was like, I can feel it. And he's like, and he was working on one breast and another surgeon was working on the other breast. And there's a nurse over there. And then I was like, doctor, I can feel it. And you know how sometimes they look at you like, are you sure? And I was like, doctor, I can feel the needles going through the left one. And another doctor on the right's doing the same thing. And I was just like, kind of like literally probably the most freak out I've ever had. After that thing, I went outside of the hospital and barfed in the grass. Like, it was probably one of the most overwhelming things I've ever gone through.
Oh, so
what calmed me down was talking about sex, though. So then he's like, okay, hands off. We're going to give more freezing. And then he apologized. And he's like, I've just never seen anybody with this much feeling before, Jen. And he's like, it's quite remarkable. And then I was like, my little ears are like, really? And I was like, this isn't normal. And he's like, no, I've never seen anything like it. So then I was like, wow. And then I was like, doctor, can I tell you why I'm so excited for you to hear that? And he was like, sure. And then so I told him about how I said I study Tantra. And by this time I'm saying I study Tantra. I was still just going off of her free content.
Of YouTube videos. It's so good.
And so I'm like, I'm study Tantra. And I said, I could orgasm with my nipples. I said, I don't know if you remember the conversation where I really wanted to keep my nipples. And he's like, yeah, I remember. And I said, so I explained what I told you about how I did the breast massage and I did meditation. And he was just kind of looking at me like, wow. And he goes, well, I'm interested. He's like, I want you to keep me posted. He goes, I've never seen anything like this before. And I was like, cool. And then he looks at me and then he says, you could orgasm with your nipples. And I was like, doctor, didn't they teach you the 7 different ways that women can orgasm in med school? And then he was like, the one way? And I was like, no. And then so I started talking. He's like, okay, we've got time. Talk to me. What are these 7 orgasms? And I started listing them off, right? And then the doctor on the other boob, he was like, well, what about the male orgasm? How many are there? And I said, well, I'm not a male. And I said, so I don't know for sure, but I think I facilitated at least 3 different kinds. So we started talking about the dry orgasm. And he goes, they for sure said that the multiple orgasm for men doesn't exist in med school. And I was like, well, and I'm like, kind of happens all the time in my bedroom. And I was like, and then I kind of was like, you can come and watch one day for the sake of assignments. And I winked at him like a dirty old woman.
You are so untamed.
I think that's what I'm afraid of, is I think in so many ways I've never had this much time to myself, and I've never had this much time to cultivate myself. And I've become a little bit of a legend in my own mind. And I'm a little bit worried. What if the world doesn't like me as much as I do when I go back out into the world?
So cool. Oh, fuck yes. I love you. Wow. I admire you a fair bit, actually.
Oh, thank you. I admire you too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm watching you because I want to be a coach too. I want to be where you are being almost done Layla's course.
Yeah.
So I can actually say that I study it and not just follow you.
Seems to be so effective though. Oh my
really,
goodness.
right?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
holy.
It's so fascinating. Yeah, Layla's work is really changing the world. So beautiful.
Yeah. So
wow.
So okay, but going back now to the nipple pleasure. So when I understood, when the doctor told me that I was ahead of the game, because that's sort of the key, right? if I know I'm ahead of the game, then I get really nerdy, right? Because I'm like Hermione Granger from Harry Potter, like that nerdy student who's just like, oh yeah, A+, like I want more than that. Like
cool.
I want the highest mark. I want to know it all. And so then I signed up for this course, but that's where I met you. And so Saida was talking about how our orgasms, and so I'd been shamed quite a bit for my sex drive. I think one boyfriend called me a menace.
I don't know what that word means, actually.
A menace. It's like, usually it's the opposite of somebody in a superhero movie. It's like a...
Oh, okay. Like a villain.
A villain, kind of like...
Okay.
Like a menace on society, right? It's like my sex drive was so needy, right?
Well,
almost
or
like
goddess.
Right. And this is the messaging that I've been getting. Even my psychologist was like, I think you should get your hormone levels checked out, because I think your sex drive is whatever. And I was just like, fuck you. Like, I've never been happier in my body. Wow. So if that's what being out of balance is, then fucking sign me up, for one thing. Right? Like, I'm not getting anything checked. But so I had not been getting any kind of reinforcement that what I was going through was good and wonderful and something to be celebrated, except for this lover partner that I found, right? Just before my surgery, and Layla's work, who I only knew from a virtual YouTube channel, right? So this is the first time where I connected with other women who were having these same experiences and discovering that, like, we're goddesses, and that we're like walking on a gold mine of pleasure. Like,
so true.
So
wow. Yeah, I think actually, or this is also what I learned from this work, that we women actually have a very large pleasure capacity, and actually naturally we possibly tend to maybe even want sex more than men, and it's actually the patriarchal system that turned it all around.
Yes.
Because if you suppress a woman for long enough, and then she's not going to feel juicy anymore. But actually, it is the other way around.
Right? Wow. Totally. Yeah. And so getting in touch with that and just being like, I remember, so I think I was watching Layla's stuff, and then I found another Tantra before partner, but we didn't stay together. We just had like a luscious love affair for one weekend. But he introduced me to my G-spot and to female ejaculation. Wow. And that changed my life, because I was like, that's when I started to be like, okay, Layla's not full of shit. Like, okay, that shit happens. Okay, now I'm listening, right? Like, then I was just like, okay, like, get my glasses on and start taking notes at these things, right? Like, but I went through a period where I was really angry at women, because I was angry at my mom and my grandma and my friends. And I was just like, fuck you, women. How could you have not told me that my body can have this much pleasure? And then I realized that other women don't know. Yes. Right. So when I met you and all those other amazing ladies in Saida's course, I was like, my mind was blown. Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Blown.
Yep.
And so it was so exciting. And then, so the moment when my breast pleasure, my nipple pleasure came back, was when Saida was talking about, and so this was breathtaking for me, because she was talking about how our vibration, that our orgasms are a gift to the world, and that if we can vibrate at this bliss, right? I really could feel it and see it. And I was like, yes, that is my gift to the world, right? My pleasure is my gift to the world. And so I really feel that, yeah, every time I have like a magnificent orgasm, that's going out to the world, right?
Wow, yes, it's an energy wave, yes.
And so it was that moment where I realized I stopped looking at my high sex drive and my sex needs as a detriment, and I looked at it as a gift. Wow. And my scars lit up in that moment. It was almost like, again, I think I must have watched too much TV when I was young, because I always go to cartoons to describe what happened. But again, it was Bugs Bunny. Like they always used dynamite, right? It was almost like, right? Like it was like, that's what it felt like. And so I think I remember you were saying, like, I heard you talking on the Zoom, but you were crying and I couldn't understand. I was blubbering because I couldn't believe it. It was like,
Wow.
my
Yes.
breasts
Yes.
came
Yes.
awake again. These new breasts, these new reconfigured breasts of my body became alive
So
again because of
epic.
the female power and connection.
Yep.
And I think being seen and having permission to be our full goddess
Mm,
selves
mm,
in a
mm.
group of women was, yeah, it was incredible. It was
Wow.
incredible. And then the teacher, as you know, and this is how we connected too. So I shared in the Zoom class, and then I was all blubbery and whatever. And Saida asked everybody to send nipple energy to me.
Yep.
And we were doing another type of self-pleasure practices. And so I really allowed myself to receive that and to realize that there's other women doing this all over. And it was just so exciting. And for a while there, like while we were doing that course, it's kind of gone down. I've been in a little bit of it's probably like an integration phase after that course. I feel
Yeah.
like I feel a little bit lower lately, and I also my
Yeah.
cycle. But
Yeah.
after that happened, it almost felt like my breast pleasure would almost be like an intuitive oracle. Like if
Wow.
somebody was talking to me and saying something where I felt like, holy shit, this is a good idea. Like, yes, like this is amazing brainstorming or whatever. My little non-nipple nipples would light up. So I really feel like this is my intuition now. I'm gonna like
Mm-hmm.
look at it or reframe it in my head, because I'm good at, like, if I can create a story in my head that's good, then I'll stick to it, right? So this cancer was like, yeah, me coming into tune with my intuitive knowledge, and
Wow.
it's coming through my breasts.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Through your nipples.
my
Through your
non-nipple nipples.
etheric
Yeah.
nipples.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
That's what I love. That's what I learned as well through this work. That I mean, some women don't have an uterus anymore, but there's
Exactly,
still the energy,
right.
and it's I imagine it to be
Yes.
like, when a person dies,
Yep.
their energy lives in form of a memory inside of
Exactly.
us. So the body
Yes.
also remembers, and it's
Totally. Yep.
and simply just actually believing in that, or having that activated by some powerful outside circle of women or something
Exactly.
like this,
Right.
it
Yep.
it, it then it doesn't seem to make a difference whether it's there physically or not, because it's there
Yes.
energetically.
Right.
So
Yes.
fascinating. I think it's so groundbreaking, your story and your journey. It can portray, or it does portray so beautifully, that energy is
Mm-hmm.
what we're made of, what's around, and what prevails.
Oh, if you knew me a few years ago, Katya, like I was so filled with self-hatred, right? Just so
Mm,
filled with like, oh, body, why couldn't you just be more beautiful, right?
mm-hmm.
Why couldn't
Yeah.
you just be more of what people like so that I could fit in this world? And I was so angry, so mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
so cruel to my body. And that will never happen again. Like,
Yes.
like,
Whoop.
no,
Wow.
no.
Yeah.
It's
It's,
just it's
thank
just
you.
pure love. It's just like, whoa, body, I'm so sorry I talked to you like that for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we are friends. Like, do you know that song by Saweetie, My Best Friend? You're my
Sing
best
it.
friend, you're a real bad bitch, you're my
I don't
anyway.
know.
So yeah, so it's these two women, and they're like sharing these really cool beats, but when I sing it, it's for me singing it to my body.
That's so good. It's
Yeah.
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 It's
And it's
such a
like I rock
good
out as like,
thing.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then so there's another thing that which I think answered, or it kind of brings full circle the idea of becoming your own epic lover.
Mm-hmm.
So the lover that I do have, who became my pandemic partner through all of this cancer and stuff, he doesn't like to kiss and he doesn't like to sleep over. And
Wow.
so those were things I really wanted, right? Right. But everything else was like motherfucking perfect. So I'm like, who am I? Who am I? Right.
Cool.
And so then I was like, and I found in my voice, and I was like, I was trying to change him. And I was like, no, right. If it's not a fuck yeah for him to do that with me, then I don't want him to do it.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, how do I do that for myself? And in meditation, a version of me came out of myself, turned around and kissed myself.
This is so beautiful.
And then and I cuddled myself. So that's what this kind of work can do.
Yes.
Like if you put steady time into connecting with your body. Like, because really this has only been, oh, my roommates are coming home. I'm just gonna move downstairs so that we don't get noisy. But yeah, because it's not like I've been doing this my whole life. Like I started the daily breast massage and stuff a month before my surgery. So that would have been January.
Wow.
So
I think it's fascinating, like the also the glow you have already, and I saw once you shared in our group some pictures from you a few years ago, and now and you look like, I don't know, you look like 10, 20 years younger.
I know. I look like my 21-year-old self.
Yeah,
really. Like really.
And it's so fascinating what basically only 1 or 2 or 1.5 years of
1.5,
something like this already does.
Right.
So
and
fucking awesome.
What I realized is that I am the best investment that I can make.
Yes.
Nobody else. Yes. No bank, no stock, no nothing, right? It's just me. It's just me. So if that's time in connecting with my breast, connecting with my pussy, connecting with my heart, then that's what it's going to be. And if this is what happens, this radiate, like people tell me I'm radiant all the time.
Yeah.
That's the messaging that I get. And it's like, yeah. I'm like, it's the orgasms. And then they're like, no. And I'm like, no, really is. It really is.
So have you, oh my God, I think I'm going to record another session with you about sex and stuff, because I was going to ask, but there was like another thing in regards to the cancer that I wanted to ask you.
Tell me.
And the question was regarding treatment, because you said you also like walking the path between alternative and modern. And were there considerations to solve it or to heal it with alternative ways? What did you look at if you did? And what was your feelings about that? Because I even heard people healing 4th stage cancer with just changing their diet to vegan,
100%. And I think if I had been in a happy marriage, I might have definitely tried to explore that.
Wow.
But with my mental health, because I struggle with depression and anxiety for a couple different reasons. And I just I know that it has a lot to do with your mind stage, right? Healing. And so I was like, I know how I can succeed, and the long game sometimes really hard for me. And I didn't feel that I would be able to keep my spirits up high enough.
Yeah, wow. Such a strong decision.
So, and if I had cancer again and things were different, I would probably definitely try things. I definitely researched things so that I could put a mindset along with the Western, like to kind of dovetail, right? The healing together. And then I started getting acupuncture and taking Chinese medicine about a week and a half after surgery. Once a week, I got house calls, and I still do. And I will continue to do that. He's going to start putting needles in the scars soon. So
wow, you're gonna get electrified nipples times 100,000.
So stay tuned. Maybe I'll become like a superhero.
Shooting light out of your nipples. That's
Oh
so
my
fascinating. Yeah, I
goodness.
love about your
Yes,
healing
yes,
journey also.
yes,
It
yes.
shows like how many different ways
Mhm,
there are to
mhm,
go. Like I think there are, like I
mhm,
heard of different cancer treatment
mhm,
possibilities
mhm,
nowadays,
mhm.
and
I just say I
it's
think
so
it's a really
interesting.
personal journey, and
Mm,
I just
mm-hmm,
I had a cancer coach, and
mm,
so he was an investigator that I work with um, for the police, and so I remember calling him the day before I got my biopsy results, and I said, I know that you've been in my seat where you've had biopsy results that you didn't want. That you got the
mm-hmm,
answer that you didn't want. I said,
hmm.
I have biopsy results coming tomorrow. What do I do if it's not a no? And then he said, you're going to get all the information that you can and you're going to feel it.
Mm,
And then you're going to call me. And when
mm.
you're ready, we're going to flip the switch. And in
Wow.
his mind, because I think he's a cop, right? Tough. He was really into like the fight with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And my life coach, she helped me flip it really quick. And she said, I don't know about fighting, Jen. And she goes, because fighting is just this. And she's like, what if you dance? And I was like, okay, I'll dance with cancer. And that helped a lot because
Wow.
it, when you become a partner, it's different than when you're fighting, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so,
That's epic. I did
yeah,
there is one woman I followed a lot on YouTube in the past,
yeah,
Teal Swan, and
yeah.
she's also very intelligent on the whole
Mm-hmm,
emotion on a lot of things about us
mm-hmm,
humans,
mm-hmm,
and she
mm-hmm,
also said she would, if she would get cancer, she would see it
mm-hmm,
as an ally, I think she said.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yep, 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 yep.
As an ally
Totally.
that's here to teach,
Yep.
and I
That's
guess
not very
that's
popular thought. Like I've said that
yeah,
to people.
yeah,
I've
because
said like,
it's
thank you. And
yeah.
people go, oh, don't
Oh my
say
God, you should.
that.
It's
Don't
cancer.
say
It's awful. You should
yeah.
hate it. You should do that. Yeah,
But I really
and
think, I think the word has a vibration, right? It has
mm,
a heaviness to it because everybody's got
yeah,
their own story with cancer. And
yeah.
I didn't want to take that heaviness too, right? I felt it when it came and you
Mm-hmm.
feel it, you tell people and
Yeah.
they cry, because
Wow.
they're afraid for you.
Wow.
And then it's, yeah.
So interesting. Okay,
But
I want to ask another thing. We're going longer than planned, but it's
okay.
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 Because I went to a sacred plant ceremony a few
Mm.
weeks ago,
Oh
and
yeah, right.
I learned there that my boyfriend was going through a
Mhm,
bit of a
mhm,
rough period,
mhm,
and
mhm.
I was like helping to look after him, but then there was one person in the room, and he
Mhm,
was like
mhm.
giving me some kind of pity. He was like, "Oh, I
Oh,
wish you
yeah,
so
yeah,
much
yeah.
strength for
Yes.
going through this with your boyfriend." And I realized, I was like, I'm actually fine. I can see what my
Mhm.
partner's going through. I
That's
know
right. It's
it's totally
okay.
in alignment. It's totally okay. And I was
Yes.
actually so centered, and I was
Yes.
so fine, and I realized how another person was projecting
Yes.
their own struggle
Oh,
onto me, which I just felt like I heard
yes.
out of your
Mhm,
cancer thing. When you tell other
mhm,
people, you
mhm,
might feel like, of course it's wow, but you
mhm,
feel like
mhm.
I got this, and then another person's like, oh my
Totally.
God, I'm so sorry.
It was
That's
very hard. It was very
wow.
hard. I
Yeah,
actually would really
interesting.
like to teach I think that's why I want to talk about it. I want people to
Mm,
know about it so that they can know how to be a helper sometimes, right?
mm-hmm.
Because I know myself. I remember I called the person who was the first person who had breast cancer in my life. And I remember when she told me, I started crying and
Yeah.
looked at her like she was the walking dead from then on, right?
Yeah, that's
That's how
not
I
very
reacted.
encouraging for somebody who has it, I imagine.
Right. For
Wow.
fuck's sakes, right? So,
Yeah.
and but everybody
Mm.
processes things the way they
Yeah.
do, right? But so
Yeah.
that's why I think it, in many ways, maybe COVID was a blessing that I was by myself because I was
Mm.
very protected.
Mm-hmm.
from other people's fears, opinions, and it made me speak in needs. If I had to learn how to speak another language, I had to speak in needs because people had to come and drop things off for me
Wow.
because of the isolation part, right? So I really had to tune in. What do I need? And then I had to ask for it, and then I had to receive.
Cool. Wow.
So it's a huge learning. So thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, Cancer, right?
Wow.
Learning how to receive.
Yeah, so big after being used to overgiving.
Mhm.
Wow.
So humbling.
Mm-hmm.
But
Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank
Oh, your journey is so
you.
awesome. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I laughed so hard and I was
Yay.
touched.
Yeah. I really so I'll be writing hopefully an article in
Yes.
Lust Zine in October for breast cancer awareness. And
Woohoo.
so I will share this story because it is really beautiful.
Mhm.
And so because I am polyamorous, I did have other men that I was still chatting with while I was going through my surgery. And so I would be on a dating website, and I had said that I had cancer and that I was going through stuff and that I wasn't really available to date, but I would still chat with people. And I had about, I think, 7 men who stayed with me
Wow.
through the journey. And some of them ended up getting girlfriends later on and whatever, but they stayed with me and they chatted with me for months, knowing that they would
So
never see me, right?
gorgeous. Yeah.
And they knew that I was really horny. So they would send me lots of sexy texts, and also they worshipped my breasts from afar. So I would take videos of myself
Wow.
and send it to them and say, can you tell me how beautiful my breasts are? Can you tell me what's remarkable about my breasts? Because I'm saying goodbye to them today. Or like, I would be having a moment or a meditation. And the comments that I got from these men who knew nothing of me, right? Who didn't owe me anything, were some of the most beautiful interactions that I've had with men ever. They were so thoughtful and so kind. And there was one man, he was so funny. When I because I would chat with people and I would be like, listen, here's the thing. I got cancer. I can't see anybody until probably May. So, and I'd be like, but I'm a really horny girl and I really like sex. So if you want to send me dirty texts for a couple of months, I would love that. And I'd be like, I'll call you a part of my cancer care team. And so there's this one man and he was like, I really am not into dirty talk and I'm not into taking pictures of myself. And he goes, but who am I to deny you of your pleasure while you have cancer? And he's like, I will try for you.
Bless him, God.
And so it was so interesting because it was me dating and just like there was no bullshit, right? It was like, this is what I need, guys. Are you in or you're out? And it amazed me at how many guys were like, yeah, man, like,
That's so cool.
like,
Wow.
yeah. So it really restored my love for humanity
Beautiful.
in many
Yeah.
ways, and my love, and it invented a love for myself that I didn't know even existed.
Yep.
So yeah,
So
but
cool. It really sounds like you created a bubble, a very unique one there. And
yes.
and these men, I just felt a lot of gratitude for these men actually,
I know, right?
like doing this.
And
Yeah.
even like I would send pictures, like I would be so afraid of what, like, am I going to be rejected for my breasts? So I would send them pictures like maybe a week after surgery. And now I look back and I'm like, oh,
Wow.
like it looks rough, right? And I would be like, guys, like, tell me, what does it look like, right? And nothing but beautiful comments, right? And it was just like so funny.
Cool.
So funny. I got to meet one of them afterwards. We had a weekend together and it was lovely. And then there's one that I'm still trying to arrange to meet. He lives in another town. And then the other ones have all kind of found other ladies and are just like, are you good now? Like, I want to go start dating this other lady. I'm like, I'm good. So it was, just really healing on so many levels. So, yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you want to like give out a last message or last words or anything you want to share if there's something alive?
I would. Well, this is an idea that I had. So maybe I'll just like plant a seed and then maybe just see if it takes root. I had a feeling of like, as I'm still off work for a little while, and I'm like, there's so many people who have breast cancer still who might be going into surgery and stuff. And I'm trying to think, what, how can I be useful while I'm at home? And I was thinking about like, is there some way that I could lead, like just breast massage with people who are going into surgery?
Wow.
And just like, I don't know, like just daily. I just don't know if I can show up like that, but that's an inspiration that came to me in meditation the other day. And I was like, could I just be naked and just be comfortable with my new breast to give people confidence that they're going to feel good again, they're going to look good again, and to just like model touching and just model holding space. Is that something that people would use? Or yeah.
Wow, that sounds so beautiful, actually.
And even people who don't have cancer, actually, right? Like just like,
if you want to just do a breast massage workshop for women in general, for
like just
people,
every
for
day if they
people
want
with
to tune
breasts.
in. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, I love that.
I know.
Yes.
So that's
Well,
what's brewing in me. But
yes. There was a moment in this call today where the way you were talking and looking at me through the screen, I thought, wow, your transmission is so powerful. And I just thought for a moment, I would even love to be coached by you because
oh, come on. Wow,
yeah. Because
oh.
because your energy is just transmitting so much, and that's the most important thing about these things.
All
Thank you
right.
so much, Jen.
Okay, goodbye.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for your time. This was the podcast with Jen. I hope you enjoyed. I'm curious again to know if there's something you're taking away from this. So if you do, you're welcome to let me know on Instagram, through my website, email address, or Facebook, or here on YouTube in the comments. I thank you very much for your time. I know it's precious. And again, if you feel called to donate any amount to my podcast, to my work in general, to the free content here, then you're welcome to follow the link, the PayPal link below, and donate what you can and what you want. Thank you, and see you next time, or hear you next time.